know what I think you get from being a writer is an understanding of your freedom, of your power. When you're a teenager and then going into your 20s, it's all about trying to understand your identity. And writing definitely helps you figure that out.
I wasn't trying to listen to my parents or listen to my teachers. I was trying to figure out who the hell I was. The writing culture let me define who I was and then appreciated what I did. It just felt better to just be a part of something that appreciated me.
For me, there was some point where I just knew I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Estria is a masterful artist, both him and Prime. They're real legendary guys, man. They've done a lot for the community, for the culture.
I always thought Estria and his crew were always like on the next level. They were definitely a step ahead.
I had the honor of rolling with some really good writers, so I thought I was the man. And I think that annoyed some people, but that was the level of belief I had in myself.
He was known as being like a hothead, but that at the same time, that was the game. You know, and he played it well, and a lot of people didn't like it.
A lot of guys got up, a lot of guys painted, a lot, but it was all crap. Nobody could top me.
I'd say both of them were like the godfathers of Hawaii graffiti.
In the 80s, it was mostly about your name and your crew and just getting up. After doing so many pieces of your name, you start to think, well, what else am I gonna talk about? I think maybe 2 years ago, I had said, I want the majority of my life's work going forward to come from my people. And I meant my Hawaiian people and the people of Hawaii. So from then till now has been this like intense immersion in the culture and learning as much as I can. And Prime has had a big role in that. His way of thinking, of living is definitely Hawaiian, and it shifted how I think.
We're still learning as far as who we are as Hawaiians. And at this point in our lives, I understand it more. Whereas if you told me a long time ago, I wouldn't care, because I was too busy being hip-hop. Yeah, but now I'm too busy trying to be Hawaiian.
It blew me away that somebody could do that with spray paint. It was the first time I had realized that hip-hop culture and Hawaiian culture could make a nice mix. I mean, that's the whole reason I connected with them in the first place, was to find experts to come in to teach my students.
This teacher named Kanoa from the Big Island called Prime and I and asked us if we could fly out to the Big Island and work with his students and teach them how to paint a mural. I said, hey, you know, making this Mele Murals project, and maybe you could be one of those. Oh, yeah. Mele Murals is a project where we hope to go to other islands and teach the students how to paint murals. Mele means song, so we use the lyrics as the foundation for the mural.
I know I can sleep right now, but I'm just so excited inside. Get butterflies.
Yeah, sleep.
Yeah. But, you know, my opu bigger than yours, so I get more butterflies. In fact, I think I get some flies too inside there.
When I first moved to Waimea, there was 2 stoplights. There used to be always people riding horses through town.
We're related to like almost like half the town, and if they see like me with my girlfriend, like somehow the whole town knows.
I used to have a 11th and 12th grade English class, and we would look at music as a revolution throughout history. So just because I have a passion for hip hop and hip hop culture, used to go a little bit deeper into that realm. Like any project that I do, I have to go out to the broader community to bring in experts, and that was why I went to them in the first place. Kanoka is a Hawaiian-focused charter school. We teach Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian language, all within the school day.
The vast majority of our population of Native Hawaiians still are not fluent in our native language. Is that a problem? Yes. Does it change the trajectory of Hawaii's future? Yes, it does. And so there is a huge movement to shift that, to be able to enable our identity to live and to thrive through language.
For me, being Hawaiian in this time, it's kind of hard because some people are just really judgmental about it.
One time I went to Ohio, and someone thought I lived in a grass hut.
We're really privileged to have people who lead us to stand our ground and bring back the ways that we feel grounded in our culture.
People from Kanu's staff, I think just not knowing who they were, they weren't artists from our community, that they were hesitant.
Personally, I had done my own research a little bit and was able to see a lot of the work that he did just from online.
The appeal of graffiti is its accessibility. Not everyone can paint a portrait or a landscape, but anyone can write their name. And this explains why graffiti has exploded worldwide in less than 20 years.
Don't call them taggers, how these graffiti artists are using this controversial medium to build a future.
By putting our messages on the walls, we can access a lot more people. And we can also attract a younger demographic that normally wouldn't be targeted with these kinds of messages.
Next week, they'll start projects in Palestine and the Philippines, followed by El Salvador, Haiti, Colombia, Arizona, and California once again.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, you say graffiti, but that just does not match what we usually think is graffiti.
No, it's not done by any taggers. It is really nice artwork.
All right, so aloha, everybody. So my brother here that's trying to hide, Uncle Prime. He and I have been painting together about 6-7 years now, and we've been going down this journey together, learning more about our culture, and all of that has led up to this series of murals that we're doing called Mele Murals. We can share with you how we paint, how we ground.
Mele in Hawaiian means song, and each wall is going to tell a different story or a different song that the student's going to choose. And we're going to translate that into a visual image and then teach them how to paint it on that wall.
I definitely think that graffiti culture attracts them because there's an edge to it. And teenagers are all about an edge. They're all about, I'm going to do something that maybe is not something my mom would want me to do.
The kids, when they first meet me, they're like, oh, just the illegal guy. Yeah, they call it graffiti. Get it right, it's graffiti, not graffiti. Show of hands, how many of you guys like the writing culture better known as graffiti? How many of you guys know the history? Wow. Yeah. So let's go into the history part. Yeah, that's important.
My earliest recollection of hip-hop being in Honolulu must have been about 83, 84.
Once the b-boy scene hit here, it was like everything else came with it.
We didn't understand why that aesthetic coming from New York was that way. To see a train with your name, your voice on it was like, what? You could do that? That feeling of freedom and exploring that freedom was very exciting.
The structure of the artwork, it resonated with me because of my upbringing. It felt hood, it felt real. And then to hear that you can do it illegally felt even more real, because now it felt like, okay, I got power. I was just thinking, like, how can I get a dope name? And then all the commercials talking about prime real estate, and the food commercials talking about prime rib. And then when I read the definition of prime, I was like, yeah, that's me, man.
I thought I might do other kinds of art. So for a Hawaii boy to hear names like Leonardo, Michelangelo, it's exotic names. And I thought, well, artists gotta have an exotic name. So for a month, I played with letters, rearranging them until I ended up with Estria, not knowing if it meant anything or what.
My crew loved going painting with me because the first thing I would do is look for somebody to fight with. One person that I remember is this guy, Skez 520. He was in the back of the bus showing everybody his black book. I said, oh, you're a legendary Skez 520. He's like, yeah. I was like, hey, what you think about, who's Prime? And he was like, yeah, I know who's Prime. He's like, oh, what you think about his stuff? You can blow Prime. I was like, yeah, I blow his doors any day. I was like, oh, really? So I pulled out my black book. And I was like, here you go, check this out. And he started flipping through. He's like, whoa, how you got all the Prime stuff? I was like, because I'm Prime, you fucker. Step off the bus so I can break your ass.
Okay, we're gonna do a little drawing exercise. So, does everybody have paper, pencils, eraser? You notice when you see graffiti pieces, it's like the letters going all any kind way. It's about making your letters dance and play. Okay, 20 seconds. The word is Ava. Go. Spell it right.
If you asked me before, I would have never thought I was going to do art. I'm not really like the drawer or the spray painter. I've done art my whole life, but it wasn't like actual art where you're drawing. It was just like hula and oli and all the other stuff. And if I combine both of them together, it's kind of like a passion kind of thing.
Well, you're starting to get the idea. You get an idea. You're gonna get better at it because we're gonna do it more often and you'll get looser. In high school, the drawing and painting teacher, she wanted you to explore your creativity, your freedom, and you could get an A. So when you're considering college, I was thinking about colleges that had an option for art. I ended up at University of San Francisco because they had a partnership with the Academy of Art. I moved to San Francisco in 1986, and that was the golden age of writing in the Bay Area. There were a lot of crews, a lot of writers, and a lot of unique styles being developed at that time. I didn't even realize that I wasn't good until my first piece in San Francisco, and I was like, oh, I suck. Me, I'm coming from private school, Hawaii, so to come from that safe haven to harsh big city was like, whoa, you gotta get some street smarts pretty quick or you're gonna get mobbed. With writing culture, and I think hip hop in general, you create a persona. You're making something from nothing. Well, what were you making? You were making that name. Graffiti is sort of the ultimate of ego. We're all advancing our name. Me, me, me. I had that battle mentality of like, get smoked or smoke. Like you're always chasing more fame, more fame.
In my mind, I was the best. I felt like I kinged it. I mean, we're on an island. You can only do so much, so I became stagnant. You try to challenge everyone, and no one would want to challenge you back. No one would want to give you a fight. After a while, it just became boring. Once I had my son, I started to build this fear. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to become vulnerable. And then my second one came 11 months later. And then, yeah, popcorn machine after that. So yeah, I started just working regular jobs. I just wanted to focus on my family.
Opai, ho'u, mea ai, pu, nahele.
My God.
I didn't grow up with the Hawaiian culture. I grew up with my Japanese family. My mom, she's Japanese and Okinawan. My grandparents were born on the island of Kauai. My father, I never met him. When I was younger, I always considered myself Japanese and Okinawan, but I always said I was Hawaiian because my mom said, oh, you have this Hawaiian blood. But to say you're Hawaiian is very different than to live a Hawaiian lifestyle. So I didn't have that.
I was born in that generation that English became our primary, that Western way of thinking became our primary. So our traditional thoughts and our traditional ways of living were just hearsay.
So many of our traditions were pushed to the side that we started to lose our own identity in our own land.
From the time of the overthrow to the time of statehood, I mean, that's a deliberate move to not let generation upon generation upon generation to learn their culture and language.
When our kupuna got lickings for speaking Hawaiian, they also stuck their ground so that we can rebuild ourselves.
Now that there's more Hawaiian charter schools, there's more Hawaiian-based projects, this generation is the comeback, or the start of the comeback.
How many of you have danced this hula before? Hole wai mea ika ole? Hole wai mea ika ihea kamakani. Are you moving like the wind? Yes, okay. So Hole wai mea is also about an energy. The ike of our kupuna is so rich and saturated in mele and in oli that when you take away our voice, not just the language, but when you take away our ability to sing our own songs, we take away their ability to understand what is innately theirs. You know, Hawaiian music is that piece that can still condition the mind and the body to remember. That, I think, is essential, it's vital to our existence.
You're like 6 feet pretty much, right? 5'10".
8 inches at a tile. What is that? Oh, 1, 2.
Not counting the wood part, it's like 23.
2.
This place is all green. We add the rain, it's gonna pop.
Like what kind of pop?
Prime was this guy who had a good name from the 80s Hawaii writing scene and had disappeared.
So now I'm a legit dad, I guess, working my 9 to 5. We own our own house. We got everything. So I go outside, and here's my kids tagging the wall. And I wasn't, I was like, what you guys doing? I was like, hey, Dad, we're just doing this new thing called tagging. And I shook my head. Of course I was pissed, yeah, but I wasn't pissed because they were tagging. I was pissed because it sucked. I was like, style, you guys need style. You guys don't make your letters dance, damn it. So I took the cans and then I rocked a piece for them, and my son was like, Dad, how you know about this stuff? I was like, boy, I was there from day one. About a year later, I get a phone call. And it was like, bro, I think you gotta go check out the writing scene. It's back and it's hot. And I did, and the thing just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I never expected this many kids showing up. After seeing myself in the kids, the dream was to give them more accessibility to this art form and to get better than my generation could have ever been. I took all my extra money and built wooden panels around my yard. And the way I set it up was, I'm gonna cook 100 pounds of steak. You guys show up and just paint the walls. But we'll have the OGs there so that way you can communicate with them. And in 6 months' time, it went from 4 kids to about 187 kids. The way I met Estria was, I wrote through this graffiti website. And I told him, you know, I'm starting up this program in my backyard, and if you know of any writers that's coming from the mainland, please send them my way.
So ended up coming to his house, and we just started to paint a lot together.
Oakland Estria was a king, like just killing it on the street scene. He had that mentality, like, yeah, we're just gonna smash.
To be honest, I thought this would be like my swan song. I'm gonna do all these murals around the islands, and then peace, I'm out, done. Earlier, I had told you I hadn't met my father. So my auntie had read the obituary, saw that my father had passed, and this is on a Wednesday, so by Friday, I'm on Maui to try to catch the funeral on Saturday. So for the first time in my life, I met my Hawaiian family. It's just 7 years ago. For me, a big part was the realization that I am Hawaiian. I may not have grown up Hawaiian. I may not have practiced Hawaiian traditions, but I am Hawaiian.
With hip-hop was a replacement culture for us not knowing our own Hawaiian culture. But now I understand that I am a Hawaiian. I want to represent that. But I had no idea what culture meant. I had no idea what it meant to be Hawaiian.
Talk about the postcard understanding of Hawaiian culture. I mean, we were painting hula dancers and sort of this straw skirt notion of what Hawaiian identity is. From there, it's gone deeper and deeper into our Hawaiian culture, deeper into the spirituality that opened our eyes to this whole part of life that we hadn't been aware of. There's meditation first, so there's grounding, connecting to heaven and earth, asking the land what does it want here, what do our ancestors want here. And all of that's changing what I paint. So even visually, you know, I'm more attuned to what do I get in the meditations and how do I put that on the canvas. We may have to help each other figure out what you got. Sometimes by talking through it, we arrive at something.
I saw red. Personally, I saw red. I saw birth, rebirth.
What do you make of that for those of you that got it?
I think of the story about Kalo and the first man. Yeah, I thought about the mountain because it's our pico and we originate in the womb, and that's kind of like where, yeah.
Half of a moon and half of a sun, and inside a fetus, and it was being held by hands, two hands above Mauna Kea.
Prime and I had painted this mural with a couple of our friends, I think 2 years ago, in the Kaka'ako area of Honolulu. For me, I was painting Kane and his daughter Poliahu. She's the snow goddess up on Mauna Kea. Normally it should take about 2 or 3 hours to paint the face, and I think I was about 4 hours in just struggling with it, like it just wasn't coming out. That was where we first met Auntie Pua. She happened to be in town that day.
We take a look at all the beautiful murals that are already up, and I mean, we are totally amazed by everything that we see. We're inspired, and we come upon the wall that will have our sacred goddess, Poliahu.
She's like, I don't want to tell you what to do because you're the artist, but I know my Poliahu. And she starts breaking it down. You know, her hair is like this, and she has this cape and blah, blah, blah. And I'm over there like, all right, that's cool, but I'm the artist, so I'm just gonna rock this how I'm gonna rock it, you know? And I kind of struggled with it. I struggled with it a lot.
When I saw what Poliahu became, I was really unhappy. Poliahu cannot be in that dress. Poliahu would never wear her hair like that. And Poliahu doesn't even look Hawaiian. That's not Poliahu.
So that was 2 years ago back home in Honolulu. And now here we are in Waimea, painting another mural. And here comes Auntie Pua again.
Auntie Pua Case works at Waimea Middle School. We try to team teach. She's deeply connected to Waimea, not only herself, but genealogically.
I wanted them to know that what they put on the mural on Oahu, this is the real thing.
Mauna Kea just has so much energy when you go up to the top because you can feel and see spiritually people there and people who are not there looking at you.
The mountain is deceiving. If you're not used to the altitude, it's pretty humbling. But it's almost like meditative where you just have to focus on the next few steps. What I got at that moment was that it's not about painting what I want, it's about painting that community story. You know, taking my ego out of the equation and thinking what they want. There's this Bertelman family. They're well-known, well-loved, and they all can sing. It's like you just went back in time to when you sat around in the garage and people sang and hung out.
Nobody's on their video game. What they had was music, was the mele.
What I am feeling is a lot of connectedness, and it's a great feeling, I think.
You know, looking at this family in the garage, so close, this is something that I wish I had in my life growing up. My parents got divorced when I was 3, so I grew up in 2 different places, yeah. You know, my mom had her own lifestyle going. She discovered drugs. She discovered, you know, gambling. My dad had a place in Chinatown. And, you know, Chinatown was on the last leg of being known as that red light district. You know, still had a lot of sailors coming in. And he used the money to create a business that would accommodate these military guys. So it's the pimps, it's the prostitutes, you know, they're checking up on me. Hey, John Boy, where's your dad at? They used to bounce me back and forth. As soon as I get on their nerves, then, you know, it's like, go somewhere else. Go with your dad or go with your mom. And that hurt. Growing up, I felt like I was just in the way.
If I win, you will be my husband. But if you win, you can
So he ends up losing.
You know, learning from the students that the water that runs from Waimea goes down to the ocean, and there's a particular place that carries stories. I stated my intention just to put it out there that I'm here to be your servant, and please let the inspiration flow through me. Don't let it start with me. Just started to just float, just block everything out and just receive the energy. I was looking for confirmation on what we're painting on this specific mural.
We're talking story out there, just treading water, and like out of the corner of my eye, I see like a huge splash. And I looked in at the beach, and all these guys are like pointing out there, and they're like, you know, when you're out in the water and a bunch of people are pointing out at something, you freak out and like, what the hell is that?
When you see a whale's tail sticking out of the water, you know what they look like to me? One big shaka, just like this. Whoop. And then they started doing this. And it was as if they were saying, "What's up? How's it?" I was like, "Yeah!" Because that was my confirmation, that was it. Everything came full circle. I never had any questions after that. It was a perfect way to close that spiritual journey. It had every color that we're gonna use in this mural.
There's going to be classes of students coming pretty much every hour, so it's going to be anywhere from kindergarten to high school. As each class of students comes, you folks teach them how to do everything. So let's say you're trying to mix red and yellow. You don't mix the color this way. You go sideways, you go into the color, and you pull it back down.
They get culture through oli, through hula, but I don't think they get enough of this style of art. And some of those kids need that. You'd think that these kids would just love hula or would always, you know, it's their culture, they want to do it all the time. It's kind of not true. After 3 years of it, for some of these kids have been doing it since kindergarten, to get them excited about it is actually kind of difficult. And I think that's what's attracted them to this project, is that it's another way to express who they are culturally in a different way.
I like the mural because I think it's speaking what we see through our eyes, and it's gonna help represent and show what Hawaii really is.
They were going to be giving us certain skills, but more importantly, they were bringing something into the community that we hadn't had in a long time. There's something significant about it because they're talking about the mo'olelo of our place, and that those stories were going to have a visual place in our community.
We have 3 walls, and each wall has a different song that's going to be associated with it. And the stories are going to be of people and place. What is the song that we've chosen for this one?
So the song that we chose for this wall is Napuko Lono Waimea, and we have the composer right here, Auntie Emma.
If you look at our landscape and you look at all of these names, there's most likely stories, there's mo'olelo attached to them, yeah? Ho'omana o enapua o ka'aina kahiaka ua e kanine, the place where the rain resounds. It's a simple mele, but it's about being attached to this place and about knowing your place. And yeah, I wrote it for Keiki, I wrote it for little kids so that they grew up knowing that.
We always forget what our kuleana is, and our main kuleana is to take care of what is around us so that it can take care of us. And it's like a cycle. And I feel that this mural is gonna help us to see that.
One of the things that the students really wanted in the mural was Manaua. She's the spirit that brings the rain.
Right when they started dancing hula, I felt like I was spinning. Like everything was going like this in the back of me. And I was like, what's going on?
I go, "Okay, Manaua, is it okay if I paint you?" And then I asked her, like, "Can you show yourself to me?" And I didn't see anything. I was like, uh-oh. But I couldn't see her face.
You know like how an old lady sounds when she tells stories? That's what it sounded like in my ear. I just could hear in the back of my head saying, I don't want to be center of attention. I don't want to be the center of attention.
The thing that she was getting from Manaua is if we're gonna honor her, make sure that she's not the main focus. The focus should be on water, right? And it made sense, yeah, because we're only focusing on one location when we should be focusing on the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? And it's about water.
So I wanted to bring you over here because what started me standing for the Mauna occurred right there, right there. In 1979, we had a really severe drought here. Like we had no water. And the cattle was dying. My dad was in charge of all of the water for Parker Ranch. And I went to the rock and I put my arms on it and I said, if you bring rain for my father, I said, I will take care of you for the rest of my life. And so will my children. I sealed my children in this promise to this pohaku and to Manaua, who I'm sure was sitting there. I'm sure she said, okay, I'll take that. If you mean that, I'll take it.
I think I even said it while we were there. We're asking for rain, but maybe not while we're painting. And that obviously didn't happen.
Obviously it's pouring, so we're already talking about plan B, which is go to the bar and drink our sorrows away.
That shit was like, oh man, I don't know about this rain. I don't think we can paint. Already I'm thinking in my mind, the rain is there for a reason. We have to use it.
While these busloads of kids are supposed to come, I'm telling them, hey man, I don't think the classes are gonna come because it's pouring rain. And every single class came. And all the kids got wet and nobody cares. That just shows how much more connected they are to the land and to the water.
Everything was wet, everything was cold. But in another way, I think that was Manaua's way of putting herself on the wall.
We have not had rain like this for months and months. So this is huge for us. This is Waimea. And if you're going to put our living history on the side of a building, then it's not just what you do, but it's what you feel. And the rain and the wind is all part of who we are. And so you are living what you are painting. You don't have to really explain what's going on the wall as if they've never heard of it. They are beginning here in this community to know their stories.
We'll get the other one. I'll turn it. You know what? Is this scales kind of like this?
Yeah. It's more like the second one.
This one?
Any information that might help them to paint her.
Auntie Pooh is that OG, and she wanted to be sure that if we were gonna do portraits on this wall, that they were gonna be accurate. And with her younger daughter, Kapule, who's a seer, she can give you very detailed account of how Manaua, the mo'o, looks like. Tell me about the colors and the scales.
Well, it's mostly green, like the base color is like green and turquoise, but then there's like a little bit of purple inside and kind of like scattered around.
I'm taking her notes and I'm trying to paint the face. My first pass, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do it in black and white real quick so that the kids could fill it in. And then for whatever reason, the mo'o's face and her husband's face, they both came out Japanese looking. And I'm like, what?
You know, it looked like the characters out of Mulan, and the kids let them know right away, and they started teasing them.
Auntie Pooh is like, Estria, this is not looking like my mo'o. And I'm like, oh no.
So would it be appropriate to put in haloa? You know, like how we're gonna hide the mo'o, but maybe hide, show the lao, and how the lao pertains to the heart of the land.
I think that would be awesome, personally, yeah.
I used to see that as a sign of weakness when you always gotta double check. Like, why you gotta double check for? You that weak? And now I'm looking at it like, no, it's what you have to do because you're speaking on behalf of more than yourself. In writing culture, you just do what you want to do and screw what anybody else thinks. And how do we navigate, in between the two? I don't know. It's still a learning process. Try to make that duck. Let's see if we can make this small. Oh! Okay, you try.
Oh, he's like a professional.
I know how you did it. Hey, cheese. Wow.
That's a dog? I just paint. I don't question, right? If you trust, right? So if you trust God or if you trust the higher source, then why do you question, right? So that's how I paint. I just grab the can and just start spraying, and then trust that it's gonna work out.
I feel like Estria, he takes a while to himself and likes to think about things and think and think and think. Prime is just like, I'm gonna tell you what I want to tell you, and then Extra is just like, I'm gonna sit here for a while and think about it and then tell you.
You might have to add some more water to that paint. It's too thick to get the lines. When I lived in California, it was me by myself. So if I messed up, it was my mistake. If I had a success, it was my success. But coming here and then painting about our culture is more of a sense of I don't want to let these people down.
They asked my husband and I if we felt like they were doing the right things. We said, you know, if we compared it to the canoe or to a canoe, you guys are the alakai. One is the captain, one is the navigator. The rest of us are your crew. Ultimately, in the end, he needs to be the one to see in the dark. When we all create the chaos, he had to be the one to still see.
With Antipo helping us, I definitely feel like there's pressure. Like even like I've started some of the characters and faces are just dead wrong, you know. You know why this is challenging is because you're trying to paint someone that it's like you can't see. I can't see them physically. Like I have to close my eyes and try to visualize them. Because I have this illustration training, I'm used to like painting from a photograph. So that's been part of my artistic development lately. I think when I was young, I was trying to prove myself to myself. And I also think I was trying to prove myself to my peers. I think, you know, you work so hard to build your name and make a reputation for yourself. It costs you relationships. It costs you time with loved ones. Moving to California, to the Bay Area, I hadn't really realized how much it changed me. In the continent, you can be like, yo, I'm the king, what's up? You can put a crown on your piece if you can back it up. And so coming back to Hawaii, I saw a couple of graffiti battles here. I was pushing and pushing and not realizing that, and not valuing how it is here.
In the writing community, in the graffiti world, they straight up will tell you they don't like him. Because of the way he's played things out, he puts himself on this pedestal over everyone else because he's too busy being a king.
For people who stay here when you go away, they think you left. You're no longer Hawaii. They don't know that it's in your heart, not where you physically are. It's funny to think that at my age now, like, I still gotta prove myself to people. Okay, man, have a good night.
I love Prime because he's really, if you think about it, he's kind of like us. Like, he can sit at a table with us and have imagination and creativity.
I think of him as like a kid in a man's body. He always has a smile on his face. He always knows how to take negative and turn it into positive.
And, oh, okay, recording.
You know, when I see the kids succeed, I feel like they're succeeding where I should have succeeded a long time ago. Well, because I didn't have that growing up, I'm gonna make sure it doesn't happen to them. Yeah, because they matter. And so I take the time out to sit with these kids and I'm saying to myself, I wish somebody took the moment, 30 years ago to explain stuff to me so I didn't have to take so freaking long to get to this point. I would have been helping people out a long time ago if I had somebody to teach me back then.
I was really proud of our kids. They stayed till wee hours of the evening, till it got cold, it got dark. They believed in it so much that they stayed and they finished.
So it looks like I got gray shift tonight. This is how I like to work. When no one's around, I can just really focus on what I'm here to do. Everybody's at home getting some rest because tomorrow's the big day. It's crunch time now. I guess old habits never die. I still like painting at night, especially when it's nice and quiet like this where I can hear the paint. I can hear everything around me, and sometimes I hear more than, I don't know, more than I'm supposed to hear, but yeah, I just like solitude. I like quiet. I don't like the busyness of the day. I'm not one of those people that can see or maybe sense the energy. I'm not that gifted. My gift is in my hands. What I take in through my ear goes down to my hand and my hand starts moving. And that's how I do it. The biggest concern for the three walls was Estria's part on painting Manaua.
Even though it's hot, I like this sun. It's a weird trade-off, because in the cold, it lowers the pressure of the cans, giving you more control, but the paint dries slower. But then in the heat, the pressure is, like the cans are hot right now. So it makes the paint come out faster. But then it dries faster. The faces are only about this big, I think. So in spray paint, like the spray can spray is like this thick, and then the face is this thick. So when you think about it, how are you doing eyelashes and nostrils at that size? So I had to use the skinny cap. So skinny cap is like the plastic cap that comes on top of a can. You cut a couple of holes in it and cut one in the top so that you could stick your finger through it to reach the nozzle, and then you cut two small holes so that it doesn't let all the paint through. It's like a little stencil, and then only a fine line comes out, like a Sharpie.
I saw him putting on her scales, I saw him stepping back, I saw him putting on more scales, and all of this was an hour before the unveiling, and still not being satisfied until he finished her hair. And then I felt like the worry in his face had gone away, and he was sure. Because he, through the story, through the kids, through everybody, had developed a relationship with her.
closer. Oh, wow.
You like her?
Yeah.
Me too.
That matters to us.
I know.
Yeah.
It matters to me too.
'Cause-
And it matters to us all.
Because we go home, but you live here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so true.
So thank you for all your help.
You know, I have so much aloha for you. I would
Yeah.
not push if I were not the guardian of those.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
And you're right.
No, I
because a
totally
Paniolo just
understand.
Passed by and said, "Now that's enough." So
We're getting closer.
we are getting closer.
Yeah.
We are.
Talk about some magic stuff. Like as soon as I finished painting Mana'ua's body, that's when it rained. I mean, it was like hot and sweaty that day. And then out of nowhere, the rain shows up and just dumps. It was right when I finished that wall. And I was like, okay, I think she's okay with it.
We started in the rain, it finished in the rain, and then, 15 minutes later, then the sun came back out and it was sunny for the rest of the time. I think that was the moment that I realized, like, this is amazing.
If we could please have Kumu Kanoa come up.
Let it rain.
Big mahalo to Estra, big mahalo to Prime for coming out and teaching the community how to paint, how to connect. It's amazing.
Over here we have our first wall. So on our wall we have the lyrics from the mele that we first did. This mele was written by Emalani Case.
I came up with the idea of the sun and the moon being held by hands, and it's like the water coming from their hands is like the rain, and it's the rain coming down to the aina.
We have Mana'ua and her ohana. We visited the pohaku that Mana'ua olala's on or sunbathes on. This is us at the pohaku. In the middle, we have our three picos, the past, the present, and the future. Over here, we have the koalas that we're privileged enough to see last weekend at Waiulaula. And now this is the question to you. Have you seen deeper meaning? Did you find yourself through these walls? Did you find your elements, your kupunas? Did you find yourself in these walls?
I think what this wall does is it makes us aware that we cannot always do things the same way over and over and over and think that we're gonna evolve as people. It helped us to see things in a totally different light. Now the stories are real. You cannot deny that you know them. They're on the wall in bold, bright colors. You can't miss it.
are we all not transforming? And as we do that, what we make and what we are becomes so much deeper. And that's what's really amazing about being here in this time, at this moment, as Kanaka in this generation.
To me, my art is in the people. I can walk away from the piece, but I cannot walk away from the people. That's my art, is my connection to them.
There's lots to learn from lots of great sources. All of that helps me to acknowledge that, okay, the ego got me this far. I don't really need it so much now, so I'm gonna just leave it here. Let's try going without that.
They help me remember who I am. They help me restore my cultural identity. And so moving forward, it's my responsibility to help others remember. I'm gonna raise all of these kids to become visual storytellers. I'm not guessing anymore. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Because I'm learning more about my Hawaiian side, I can be more face-to-face with my own shortcomings, things that I want to change. There's a difference between Estria and me, and I'm trying to make Estria more me.
With an accent, I said, how's it? Surrounded by town folk who clowned it. Why? Cause I'm fresh off an island, miles from the six with a smile and a childhood, raised from the bowels of military housing, the place that I grew, more slippers than shoes. Bunch of fools sitting wishing in school with a principal who never saw no talent. Dreamt of a crib like Iolani Palace, pre-Lily Okalani, legendary status. Every hand grabbing for the sky like Jimmy. Superfly snooker in his prime, fuck a limelight. Give me sunshine and a mic and I'm fine. Life been defined by nights under skies. Next to the line where the see me land. Got both feet planted in the sand like damn, bruh, I've been missing all that. So I had to go back to the island like Jack. And now it's flash forward on a track. Gotta liberate my people like how 90K trash. Breathe in a breeze when I ease way back. In a Jeep with the top and the seats lay flat. Yeah, I got heat, cause every time I speak I keep burning like a haole on a beach. Why? It's the 808 love, like 88 playing tape, space in the trunk. It's the 808 kick, that shit's so sick it make your heartbeat skip like this. It's the 808 love, like 88 playing tape, space in the trunk. It's the 808 kick. That shit's so thick it make your heartbeat skid like this. I raise hell when I blaze well. And we made next door feel sorta like Blaisdell. And I came directly from the place